Hi there, Mike Breedlove here with Steve-Arvey. MGBGuitars.com is my company. I sell parts and supplies to people who build cigar box guitars and other related instruments. Had a chance today to sit down with Steve, and I just want to take a few minutes and ask a few questions. And I'd like for you to get to know Steve like I do. I met him first time at a concert, a cigar box festival down in 2017. And boy, is he a really cool cat. And he's got some interesting stories. So let's take a few minutes and learn a little bit about our buddy Steve-Arvey. Hey Steve, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your background, you know, where you came from, your family history. I think everybody would be interested to hear that story.
Well, the main thing is let's talk about the blues and how the blues grabbed me when I was young. I mean, growing up in Chicago was cool, being surrounded by all the blues guys, but one of my big turning points and changing times in my life was Blind Willie Johnson. Blind Willie Johnson did an instrumental called Cold is the Night, Dark was the Ground. It was just this instrumental of the slide playing. When I first heard this song, matter of fact, the song was sent out in outer space because it was such an incredible sound. And it was like slide like this. That sound, the slide sound was just so piercing, and I was like, what is that? I mean, I knew all about Elmore James and Homesick, who, you know, you can see video or audio files of myself with those guys and the blues guys, but when I heard that really turned me on to the Mississippi Delta stuff. Just one person sitting there with a guitar and the tunings, all the odd tunings. First started learning about open G and all those tunings, but it was really got me going was CBGs, 3 and 4 string CBGs, where I could get that. Because you got so much room between the strings, and it's just so much different. You can just focus on 4 or 3 strings. So that was a big turning point in my life.
One of the things I want to just kind of quickly ask about, you've been a musician a long time, but tell me about the very, very first time you picked up a guitar, you played a guitar. How did that come about?
Well, the first time, you know, I took guitar lessons, and when I was 13 years old, and it was not like, you know, you see the Beatles and people on TV, Terry Kath from Chicago, see, and, you know, you go to a guitar store and you learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and, you know, you want to get right into playing stuff. So my first guitar lessons were not that successful. It wasn't until I was 16 years old and Sandy Schwarzman, this guy came in and was playing Bob Dylan and Neil Young tunes, and that kind of was like, cool. I learned how to play regular chords and started playing more regular guitar.
And then I also saw some pictures of you from, I guess it must be the early 80s, when you had like this chiseled face and this hair, and you had the big collar shirt on, and I don't know what you were playing then, but I'm sure, I don't know if it was a blues or a rock or.
Oh no, I was playing blues. And you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see the latest video of me. Just, you know, just look up Chicago Blues Archives, and I'm going to be releasing a lot more of that stuff where I'm playing bass with a lot of the blues legends. Mm-hmm. So that's yeah, I started bass, and I was very lucky to be surrounded and living in an area where in Chicago. So there was a lot of these blues guys alive, and you know, I was able to play that stuff.
One of the things that anybody who knows you now knows you're a cigar box guy. You play cigar box guitars. I see you play other instruments, and I know you do a fine job, but how in the world where did you run into a cigar box guitar?
Listen to that. Again, a lot of people think that this is a novelty. No. Listen to that sound. What happened was this. It's the late 90s. We were up in, they did a double bill show at Sandy's National Pastime in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. West Side Heat and Microwave Dave. Microwave Dave's from Huntsville, Alabama. One of the first guys most people have seen play cigar box guitar. It is a homemade instrument. So I had my Stratocaster. We were like a Thunderbirds type of a band. Mark Hoekstra on harmonic. I mean, you know, rocking, doing all the regular, like, you know, rock, blues, boogie woogie, Thunderbird style stuff. We thought we were hot. Oh yeah, you know. And then this guy just comes up from Alabama with a 3-piece, just with a cigar box, just completely destroys our whole set, the whole audience. The sound was just like it was like Robert Nighthawk, Elmore James. It was just like, and I'm like, what the, who is this guy? Everybody forgot about us. Everybody was, and this guy had 3 strings, and I'm like, well, how can this be? I knew all of these riffs and all this stuff. I'm playing like, you know, all this like real fast Ronnie Earl, all these great riffs, and this guy just came up with 3 strings and blew us away. Then I said, okay. I went up to the guy, said, who the hell, what is this thing? Cigar box guitar. And then I went out, tried to make my first one. Wasn't very successful. Wish I had MGB to buy the parts. That would have been much, you know. But you know, there was nothing. There was no cigar box industry or anything. There wasn't. You can go on YouTube. There was no YouTube. So that's what changed me, you know. And thank God we have MGB Parts and Supplies that you can get all this stuff and make instead of just trying to, you know. I'll never forget the first time I didn't know about, you know, intonation and I everything was wrong. It was just like, how did he do this? You know. And anyway, so we've come a long way in this industry, and it is growing all over the world.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Steve. So you've been fiddling around with these cigar box guitars for going on 20 years now. And so you've been back to the very, very start of it. You're popular around the world. You go on a lot of different places to play. We're glad you're here in Central Florida with us because you are able to do a lot for us, and we can come and see you and stuff. But kind of tell me what it must have been like. Okay, you saw one, you thought it was cool. What was it like when you started taking these things out and playing them in front of people who had never heard of them, never thought about them, had no idea? How was the conversion? And you know, did they jump on the board quickly, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, down here, David Johnson, Charlie Reisner, they made good boxes. You know, both Charlie and David would come to my gigs, and yeah, I mean, Charlie still comes to my gigs in Inglewoods on Dearborn, and you hear the sound of them, and people like it. It's the sound, it's the slide. Again, with 3 and 4 strings, you have to focus on a smaller amount of springs that make sound. I mean, people hear slide. It just gets to them. I mean, even if you take a look at Bangladesh in the beginning, and you hear Ravi Shankar playing all that stuff, and people at the beginning of Bangladesh, they all wanted to watch Harrison and Bob Dylan and Clapton in that movie. And the movie Bangladesh was, people are like, wow, listen to that slide stuff. There's something about, you know, evoking the tones of blues and by sliding. And that, just like what happened with Microwave Dave. All you got to do is just hit a few notes and you're off to the races. It's just, that's why people like Elmore James, Little Ed, Homesick, Dwayne Allman. You know, the slide is a big part of music. It hits you. So it's.
Yeah. So one question, I think, you know, most people understand that this is a fretted instrument, and they understand that that's how you get, you know, the frets to make the notes, to do the chords, to make the music. But when you're going over to a slide, it's kind of like you're totally free. Tell us kind of, you know, I see guys who are playing slide. You're all over the place, up, down. You're not stopped at one specific spot. You're kind of roaming from one note to the next. Is that what's going on?
Well, with the DRM, I mean, we can get another video. The DRM slide, you know, you've got wider, you know, you've got a small one, two wider. You only have 8 frets. And so you have more room to move in between the frets. Of course, that you could go fretless, and it really wouldn't matter if you really think about it. Yeah. But yeah, because what would you do for? So listen to the difference. Be like, listen. saw the difference in
Yeah.
in evoking emotions and
Right.
you know.
Yeah, so to me, and everybody knows I don't play, I'm not gifted in that regard. But what I kind of see is I know that at one fret you're one note and the next fret down you're at another note. But when you're sliding, there's like 50 notes in between. You're
Well,
like,
yeah, well, you've pretty much got 16th like microtones. So yeah, there's a lot that you can get in there. Sometimes they might not be right, but you know, shit, you can slide out of it real fast too. But yeah, they're incredible instruments.
So Steve, a lot of guys are going to probably look at this video that are really excited about this newfound interest making a cigar box guitar. Some of them may have varying levels of musical talent. Some of them have played a guitar. Kind of, if you were to come into a guy who just really, really wanted to learn about it, give us what your opinion would be of here's some good steps to take.
Well, there's so many guys out there with free lessons right now.
Right.
Myself, Uncle Mark, Shane. It's just the list goes on. You just got to go on. You have to start with a 3-string. You know, G, G, D, or A, E. It's always the 1-5-1. On this one, all I do on this is I just tune the top one for the 4th. These are both the same. Take your time, learn how to play Jimmy Reed. You just take your time, learn some basic stuff, and it'll all come around, you know.
Can a novice start off with a slide and learn that way, or do they need to do the picking and frets and stuff first?
I would definitely do the frets first to learn, you know, so you know before you do fretless, just learn Jimmy Reed stuff like this. And then, you know, you can eventually learn how to play. It's really important to learn the blues because the blues is the basic to everything, to jazz, to rock, to bluegrass, to country. You learn the 1-4-5 patterns and get it in your brain, and it's gonna help you. Another thing I gotta say is that playing a 4-string guitar, like I was just in the studio yesterday, and I did I was asked to play rhythm on a like this sort of like Grateful Dead kind of like a Chuck Berry track. So I was, I was doing like all of this stuff, and the producer really liked it because, and most guys would have gone in and played like a Chuck Berry. Then I was going. And that's all I do in the whole recording is just, and the reason I learned that is because of just playing 3 strings and 4 strings. You know, all of a sudden when you only have 4 strings, you have to all of a sudden learn all these new patterns in the low end. And when you go to play a 6-string guitar, man, you can rock. You can do a lot of stuff where, you know, if you are playing like with a shredder and they're trying to, you know, and all of a sudden you're doing stuff and they're like, well, how do you do that? Because most of the shredders are always, you know, doing all the stuff on the high 2 strings. But when you're doing all the stuff and it really, cigar boxes will help you become a better 6-string player. No doubt. My guitar playing is like, you know, you can take a look at my old videos and before I was playing cigar box guitars, you can see the difference.
Steve, you're very, very popular in this area. Everybody knows you. Everybody comes out and sees you. And all of the builders know who you are. And you and I have discussed this many times before, but every builder's dream would be to have you play one of your guitars. So you go to a concert and there's 10 builders there and they're all sticking a guitar in your face.
Yeah, it's fine.
Tell me, and you're very kind to play them and stuff, but we know over time we've seen a few things that were not exactly right. Can you just give us, 2 or 3 tips that you would tell first-time builders to focus on stuff that, this has got to be pretty darn close?
Okay. Well, the number one thing is just like what I did in the beginning. You have to make sure your intonation's right. You have to make sure from here to here is the same amount of space between here and there. That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing I see all the time.
And that's the 12th fret. It's
yeah,
the 12th
fret. And they hand me a guitar, and all of a sudden, I go to play it, and I go to play. And instead of this, it's like. It's just, I can't even, because this is perfect, but it's like, it's out. And then when I try to go to, instead of 4, it sounds like, and it's like, oh man, and it's like, and then I got to give it back to them. And I tell them, I'm like, you got to work on that. Some of them want to try to get better, and some don't care. But man, you really want to make sure that's the key thing.
What about action height? That seems to be, from the new builders I see, that was my stumbling block. My first guitar, you could actually crawl under the strings. That's how high they were. So
okay, well for me, I actually kind of like a higher action. This one's set up perfect, so it's like but sometimes I get guitars and the action's too low. But I'm more of a higher action type of a guy because I play guitar all the time. That's something, when somebody buys it, and the builders out there, you got to stop worrying about these people so much. They got to figure it out for themselves. They'll come in, they'll say, well, I want this kind of a box, and I want this, and I want to sound like that, this and that. No. Everybody's different. As I said at the St. Louis Cigar Box Guitar Festival earlier this year, the guitar plays the person. You don't play the guitar. This one is really cool. I mean, I just picked this up, and this has got sounds, and you work around it. You need to go ahead, and you're going to buy a guitar, you need to go ahead and maybe mess around with the action a little bit. Strings, you got to figure out, am I a 42, 32, 22 type of guy? Am I a 36, 26? You got to find the strings that are going to want, and we're not going to go into the strings. Both you and I sell strings, and people they've got to find out what's the best for them. What's the best for you, that's kind of why I like festivals and people buying stuff direct instead of going online, because I used to build guitars and then send something out and they're like, oh my God, the action is too high. And it's like, well, that's the sound I get. No, it hurts my fingers, because a lot of them don't have calluses and they don't. So that's a big thing. I mean, a builder can build something. That person has to get that guitar and then maybe change the strings, find out, change the action on it. It's, what do they want to do? I mean, do you want to play? You want to play melodies? You want to play slide? What's it for? I mean, honestly, you go out, you spend $2,000, $3,000 on Les Pauls and all that stuff. Most cigar box guitars are running anywhere from like $250 to $600. Buy a few, figure out some different, it's not like, change them around, figure out what you want as the person,
Well, Steve, you're a legend in this category. Like I said, you've been doing it for 20 years, so you've seen the whole progression of where cigar boxes came from, where they're going. You've got your finger on the pulse, not only here in the U.S., but around the world. You talk to builders all the time. Kind of give us, in closing, just a short synopsis of where you think this is all headed and what's the future going to be like.
Well, as you know, both you and I, since we both do, parts and strings and everything, more and more people are building. More and more people are getting into this. This has become, I just keep seeing, here I'm going to go to Germany. Now all of a sudden there's people in Poland that want me to go to Poland. All through southern Germany, they call them poor man's guitars. Everybody's starting to build guitars. Again, like I said in the other video talking about your company, you too can become a builder. And so more people are finding out about this, and they're getting a purpose. I've seen so many veterans down here that were doing nothing, that were hanging out like in the at the VFW posts, and they see me, and I'm like, hey, dude, you can build a guitar, and all of a sudden they got a purpose. All of a sudden, I'm a guitar builder. You know, instead of just a retired person watching TV all day and drinking beer, they're making instruments. Everybody's starting to do this because it's fun. You know, it's a great thing to be able to make an instrument and make it sound good, and then give it to somebody and they play it. I love it because the builders are just sitting there beaming. They're like, yeah, and I'm like, this is a good build. And then somebody buys it. You know, William Clark was the other day, just shows up at one of my gigs, and some guy's like, what is it? And they get all, and then all of a sudden, I'll buy it. And they buy a guitar, you know, and next thing you know, they're calling me, how do I do this? And there's online lessons, and they get excited about it. You know, this is a great thing for people. For builders, that's why I love the builders. I want to encourage more builders. We need more. This is not, I get so mad because everybody looks at this like, oh, it's a novelty. You're just trying to do a gimmick. No, it's not a gimmick. Take a look at 6 million views on YouTube, all my subscribers, and I'm not that great of a player or a singer, but people just like the whole like it's like, yeah, baby, come on. It doesn't take that, you know. I mean, it's just, wow. It's not that, it's fun. It sounds great. Get a damn cigar box, folks.
Well, Steve, on behalf
More
of all
builders.
on behalf of all the builders, players, and fans, I'd like to thank you for what you've done for our category in the world. And why don't you close us out with some real hot jam?
Try to flag a ride. I went down to the crossroad, tried to flag a ride. Nobody seen a moment. Everybody passed me by. I said, run, you can run, or tell my friend Poeta Brown. And run, you can run, oh, now tell my friend Poeta Brown. I'm standing at the crossroad, Lord, I believe I'm singing now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.